Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be working on our wish list. I've already made a copy over here. I've left the header, as you can see, and I've left the navigation. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come into these navigation items and switch them off as active and inactive, and we can start working on some of the wish list stuff here. So I'm going to just grab this, and here what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into the page version, and we can just write wish list. So that's looking really good. The next thing I want to do is work on these cards here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab a frame, and we'll call it our wish list container. I'm going to just make it 10 pixel radius, and then I'm going to put a stroke on it. Oh, that's really faint, so we're gonna have to bump that to 200. Still faint, but I kind of like it. And I'm just gonna grab this. I'm gonna grab this header base and just throw that in there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to clean it up a bit. So the first thing I want to do is just put a name on this thing. So we can call it personal, and we can bring that down considerably. And now we can even change this icon. So maybe to a more icon, so that way, people have a way to, use, delete it maybe, or share it or something like that. I'm going to go into my assets and go into my elements over here and grab the rule. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to now turn this into an auto layout frame. Then I'm going to select all the items within, fill that container, and then here I'm going to just make sure there's no spacing whatsoever. So this is going to be where we're going to just put our spacing. And now we need items to throw in here. So I think we're going to run into a little issue here, and that's okay. And I'm going to show you why we're going to have an issue. So I'm just going to drag this in here, and I'm going to switch it to, no, not the order version. I want the list item version. So now we have, these items. I think that's fine. So we probably need to think about, let's throw this in that container and set it to fill content. So that's looking really good. This one doesn't have to be 24, it can be 16. So we don't have a base item for this wish list, so we can't really toggle it. So what we're gonna have to do right now, at least until we create that component, is we're gonna have to come in here and just give it a active state of our own. And we also don't have a button for it. So another thing we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to detach this instance for now, and we will add our own button. So I'm going to just drag that into there. That's a seriously huge button, but we can, make it that way. So we need to think about maybe making our own list item component, and maybe not a variant. It'll just have all these items in here and we can drag them. So definitely could, update our design system to reflect that. So fill this container, but these are all just real world issues that, sometimes even I run into still to this day. Add to cart, that's looking good. I'm going to take this rule and bump it up. We can have 2 items there, and maybe we'll have our rule. Bring it down, and maybe there's some text. So I'm just going to grab this label here and just paste it, and I'm just gonna call this my show more label. And we can write something like show 24 more items. And then we can use something like our labels. Perfect. And we can wrap this in a container. So I'm just going to use Shift A. And I'm just going to call it my button container. And we can reuse 8 and 8. And this one doesn't need to be set to anything. And that can be fill container, and it's centered. So there we go. Now we have our very own section over here that's looking much, much better than before. You know, we can go ahead and just copy that, and we can change this to like work items. You know, personal items can be like this, and then we can take this and, you know, swap it for that. And for this, it can be another book. And then we can have like, no, maybe we only show like a maximum of like 2 items. And then users can go ahead and like see more. So I'm starting to also think about like the usability around that as well. And then I think the one thing that we can do here is can just come down, have a button over here, like a secondary button with a icon. And it could say something like create a wish list. And then to top this off, we can make it a little bit larger and fill that up a bit. And here is where we can start reusing some of our content. Like over here, I can just take this, bring that in, and write something like trending. And then, you know, maybe make it a little bit smaller. And we've actually cut down on space a bit in the process. So there we go. Now we have like our own wish lists. We have personal work items. We have create a wish list, and we have some trending items maybe, or items that are recommended based off of what's here, or based off of what you liked. So there we go. And that is how we have polished our wish list a little bit.